struggled, you've suffered, you've endured, and you've got out of it the other end still alive. The stuff that took you 2 weeks to do here in classes is going to happen in a couple of hours. Your speed will quadruple, or even faster than that. It happens all the time. I meet alumni, I meet former students, because a lot of you always, I like it when you come back and visit me. Uh-oh. Let me see that a second. Just be sure. Storyboard with Richard. This is Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
How come it's at the bottom of the list? That's weird. Even if like the first class of the week. You struggle with 2 other classes tomorrow and the day after. Okay. Take a seat. What I was alluding to is that my objective for you guys is that we'll do projects that are viable, that are real, that are realistic, and that my main aspiration is that you can take this stuff and go get a job with it. And that means that we have to kind of cut through the okay, I kind of messed this up kind of thing, to the fact that because I'm going to show you something here with the Pixar people, and some of the drawings are going to suck. Okay, they're going to be bad. And even the guy talking about it points out that this is a bad drawing. Probably it was his own drawing, that he's showing you or something like that. But he's already got the job. It doesn't matter. Your objective is to get your whatever foot in the door. And if you're the person hiring someone, and here's a guy that tells a good story visually, but the drawings suck. And here's a guy that tells the drawing visually, and the drawings are really good, who are you going to hire?
Story.
Okay. But they both did the story. But you had a choice. You're the person that can hire anybody. So I'm going to hire the best person I can. Now, probably the secondary thought is who can I get cheaper? That's another problem entirely. Never sell yourself cheap, folks. Ask for as much money as you can, very quickly. It doesn't hurt to ask. You can always settle for less. You probably do, or we will. I've done it. I can be had for money. I'm easy, but I'm just that kind of guy. But yeah, you're going to be the boss someday. Not too far down the road, you're going to get out of this program. You're going to get the piece of paper. Someone's going to hire you, and then in a very short amount of time, you're going to be the person standing on the other side of the desk looking for somebody to hire because you need more help. Because one thing about, well, the projects are enormous. There's the poster for Up over there, and Penguin movie, I forget the name of that one. A couple other things around here, and that stuff, Ice Age. No one person did them. I mean, I'm going to do Ice Age, and the problem is you could do it, but you'll be 85 by the time you finally put the film out there. Whatever you started in the the year 2010, I'm sorry, is going to be so antiquated and have to be redone by the time 2062 comes around when you're ready to premiere it. And no one wants to, by the way, how you'll ever keep the endurance up for that long, I don't know. And or eat in between, So it's always a massive undertaking. It's a group effort. First project is I'm going to give you a script, and you're going to do your best to follow it. Second project is a fairy tale, which you're going to work in groups. I'll give you a fairy tale, the Brothers Grimm. I'm a big fan of fractured fairy tales from the Rocky Bullwinkle show. I even have a bunch of them on disc, and I'll bring in some. Because it's a fine example of here's the fairy tale, but obviously there's either a twisted mind working at this thing, or they figure out a way to tell the story, but do it in their own way. And it's always it's about an interpretation, which we'll talk about in length as the day progresses. The third project will be a TV commercial, which I guess to my credits, I've done more of those than anything else. Locally, those are done in most every city in particular, and quite often I'll do a storyboard for somebody, and it's going to be for a TV commercial produced in Seattle or someplace else. It's not necessarily here. Quite often, they'll also hire storyboard people, and what they'll do is they'll actually hire like 3 or 4, and this is the script. We need 16 boards. We need them today after tomorrow. And they'll ask like 4 people to do it, and then they'll virtually bring them all into a room, and somebody else will make this decision. They'll just tear them apart. I like the views here, I like this thing there, and they'll rebuild it on the spot and then present it to their client. Because it's, once again, storyboard artists, you can get them relatively cheap. And that's a relative term. The storyboard, and I haven't done any recently. Like the last one I turned down, it's been a while. Person wanted to pay me like, I'm thinking 85 or 65, something like that, a panel. They had 22 panels to do. And it was a weekend gig, you know, so here's Friday, by the way, you have to have it on Monday morning, 9 a.m., that kind of thing. And it was like, I had stuff to do for the weekend. Do the math, I don't remember what the number, it was 1,000 something that you'd make in a weekend, you know. And that was just one job. I mean, I've done others for $125 a panel. The typical price, more is like between $35 and $45 a panel, you know, for just doing a drawing. I've been paid ridiculous sums of money on occasion to do especially the quick ones, the ones for you know, like 3 hours or something like that. You know, I will quickly. I'll even show you some examples. I've done some things where it's like more like Fred Flintstone type stuff. You know, even though it's going to have to be realistic eventually, but you know, because you're trying to do something in 3 hours, you resort to what you do. You know, to what will tell the story as easily as possible. I'm not going to spring anything like that on you guys. You get the 2 weeks, you know, to suffer or struggle. Problems you're going to run into. I've been there before where first panel take me 8 hours. Second panel takes me 7 hours. I've got 19 more to go. You know, and it's due like 3 days from now. Well, the other ones start to pick up speed. You start figuring that out. Yes.
So that's why they have groups for the storyboarding, so the time will be easy, time will go faster, like will make things shorter actually. So that's
well, sometimes, yeah. Most of the time, all the projects I've worked on, I've never really worked in a studio where all of us as a group did storyboards before. I've always done like things that are one individual project that were start to finish. Once again, the longest project I ever worked on was 24 panels. But you know, I mean, of course, I've never worked in Hollywood. You know, where people like you've seen the Disney stuff where you walk into these rooms and they're all around the walls, and they have sliding panels that, you know, because they're doing the whole, like, once again, like Spielberg does the whole film. And there they have groups of people, and the people at Pixar, where one thing I'm going to show you, you'll see the team leader, the guy that runs the show, but then he has a bunch of people that work with him that are, you know, and believe me, they're the people that have the most fun, in my opinion, because there's you know, you're dealing with a concept part. You're not, maybe you might have a character style sheet, but even that you'll see gets thrown out the window pretty quick from storyboards. They're doing whatever they can with whatever time they've got to work in. In the graphics design field, you've been there before in other classes where a teacher says, I need you to come up with 30 thumbnails, or you know, come up with like 10, 15 ideas by, you know, 2:30 this afternoon, something like that. And I don't know about you, my mind always went blank. My mind was like, screwed. You know, I've learned how to think, by the way, and be able to actually make the pencil work, which is very helpful. I can give you some jump starts on that. I did a big project with Halliburton. I don't know, a while back, and their headquarters at the time were right. You know, this Randall's is up the street, right here on San Felipe. There was that big building right next to it. That's where they were, and they brought me in to work for a day with them. And what they were looking for from me was they had this multimedia presentation they were doing. It was a 1-hour piece, and they needed someone to help all these engineers, these people that wear ties every day, to kind of think a little bit more outside of the box. Engineers think about numbers and whatever. They don't understand what they can do graphically or visually. And so they needed someone to come in there and help them to at least think. And that's what they employed me to do for an afternoon. Actually, it was a morning and an afternoon, whereas actually most of the morning I just sat around and played with toys and talked about the projects. And then in the afternoon I sat down and I penciled out like 75 little panels for them. And I mean, I worked with teams trying to tell 3 different stories in the one day. And they paid me just a shameful amount of money for that.